Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into the career and life of Neil Cavuto. You sent in a ton of articles and biographical info, and wow, this is not your average news anchor story.
It's true. What's fascinating here is that Cavuto's story isn't just about reporting the news, it's about facing some pretty incredible personal challenges while doing it. Adds a whole other layer to his public image that I think a lot of people might not even know about.
Exactly, and we're going to get into all of that. So we start with a young Neil Cavuto landing a White House internship under President Carter.
Wow. Talk about starting at the top.
Right. Not a bad way to kick things off. Then he just dives headfirst into the world of financial journalism, spends over a decade at the Financial Times, then moves on to CNBC.
Yeah, you can tell from his career trajectory he was really focused on mastering his craft early on. Not just chasing headlines, but really digging deep into how the markets and the economy actually work.
That's a great point. He had that deep understanding that really set him apart. But then things take a turn. We're not just talking about one health battle, but three major ones. Cancer, multiple sclerosis, open heart surgery, plus 2 rounds of COVID.
Yeah, it's honestly mind-blowing. Each of those is life-altering on its own.
It makes you wonder, how did he even keep going?
The fact that he not only persevered, but thrived in such a high-pressure career. I mean, it's really a testament to his strength. But there's another layer here that I think is important, too.
I'm curious. What are you thinking?
Well, just think about being diagnosed with MS while you're a live news anchor. In his book, Cavuto talks about trying to hide the symptoms at first. It really makes you think about the internal struggle he must have been going through while still putting on a brave face for the camera.
That's a really great point. It adds a whole new dimension to his public persona. And, speaking of public persona, you sent in an article that said Cavuto became the most watched financial news anchor in America with Your World with Neil Cavuto.
That's no small feat. And it wasn't just the viewership numbers. He had this incredible ability to connect with people. One article you flagged highlighted how Cavuto could break down these complex financial concepts into really simple terms.
Really? How so?
Well, at one point, he even compared derivatives to pizza toppings.
Okay, now that's a good analogy. It makes you wonder if that ability to connect came from having to explain his own health challenges to people over the years.
That's an interesting thought. It definitely takes a certain skill to make those topics relatable.
It does. And we can't forget about the major events he covered during his career. 9/11, the 2008 financial crisis, wars. Imagine being a financial journalist on 9/11.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Suddenly it's not about the Dow anymore. It's about, the human cost.
Absolutely. And Cavuto was praised for his calm and insightful reporting during those crises. Must have taken immense focus and dedication to stay grounded amidst all of that.
For sure. But wait, there's more.
Oh, yeah. Lay it on me.
He also wrote 2 best-selling books.
No way. What were they called?
More Than Money and Your Money or Your Life. And these weren't just about, stocks and bonds.
Really? What were they about then?
He went beyond financial advice in these books and dug into these bigger questions about life. Like what is success and what's our purpose and how do we balance ambition with well-being?
Wow. So he's achieving this incredible success, but at the same time, it almost sounds like he was asking, is this all there is?
It does, right. And it's almost like, a cautionary tale. Coming from someone who reached the top, he almost seemed to be saying, don't make the same mistakes I did. Money isn't everything.
Yeah. That kind of self-awareness from someone in his position, that's rare.
And because he was so open about his own struggles, it gives his message that much more weight. He wasn't preaching from some ivory tower. He was sharing these hard-won lessons from his own life.
That makes sense. And that brings us to another interesting point. In today's media landscape, Cavuto was labeled a Trump skeptic. Not exactly a popular stance in certain circles, especially considering where he worked.
Right, that speaks volumes about his commitment to journalistic integrity. He wasn't afraid to ask tough questions of anyone, no matter their political affiliation.
You sent in a clip of Cavuto pushing back against a guest who was praising a specific Trump policy. It's clear he wasn't going to just sit there and nod along. He was going to push for the truth, even if it meant challenging the narrative.
Totally. So he was at Fox News for 28 years before departing on December 19th, 2024.
Wow, that's a huge part of his life. Why do you think he left?
Well, the timing is interesting. Cavuto had been very open about his health struggles, and the toll they were taking. It's possible that he simply reached a point where he needed to prioritize his health and step back from the demands of a daily show.
Yeah, I can see that. It's inspiring to see him accomplish so much while battling those health issues, but, there's only so much one person can handle.
But, there might be more to it than just his health. You also flagged some articles that suggested Cavuto's increasingly vocal criticism of certain Trump policies might have caused, some friction at Fox. Remember, this was during a time when the network was, becoming increasingly aligned with a particular political viewpoint.
Yeah, it was a pretty polarized media landscape back then. Some people felt like Fox was becoming more of a platform for politics than a news organization.
Exactly. And if Cavuto was committed to journalistic integrity, holding everyone accountable regardless of their political affiliation, that might have put him at odds with where the network was headed.
It's definitely something to think about. You also sent in a clip where Cavuto was interviewing a guest who was, defending a specific Trump policy. And Cavuto pushed back hard. He was challenging the guest's claims, demanding evidence.
Yeah, I saw that one.
It was clear that he wasn't going to just sit there and let misinformation slide.
It definitely showed his commitment to, truth-seeking over blind loyalty. And it takes courage to do that, especially when you're potentially alienating a portion of your audience.
Absolutely. So if it wasn't just health, maybe it was a combination of things. The desire to prioritize his well-being, maybe growing discomfort with the network's direction, and a need to find a platform where he could, continue to practice journalism on his own terms.
It's possible. And it wouldn't be the first time a journalist left a major network because of those kinds of conflicts.
Right. So where does he go from here? After 28 years at Fox, he's a household name. And he clearly has a strong following.
Oh, he's got plenty of options. He could easily go to another network, maybe one with a, more neutral reputation. Or he could go the digital route, launch a podcast, build an online platform where he has complete control over the content.
A Cavuto podcast. I'd subscribe to that. His insights and analysis would be so fascinating to hear in a longer format, He could even bring on guests, have those in-depth conversations that you can't always have on cable news.
Exactly. And he's already proven he can connect with audiences, explain these complex topics in a way that's engaging and informative. Plus, with his experience and connections, he could probably get some amazing guests.
I'm starting to get excited just thinking about it. But let's shift gears for a second. We talked about Cavuto's resilience in facing those health challenges, right? And now we're seeing that same resilience in his willingness to walk away from this, comfortable, high-profile position to stay true to his principles.
It's interesting how those two things are kind of intertwined. It's almost like his personal struggles fueled his professional courage. He knows firsthand that life can throw curveballs, and he's not afraid to face them head on, whether it's a health diagnosis or a network pushing a particular agenda.
That's a great observation. And it's a good reminder that resilience isn't just about bouncing back from adversity. It's about adapting to changing circumstances, sticking to your values, and carving your own path, even when it's uncertain.
Couldn't agree more. But speaking of carving his own path, let's not forget about Cavuto's books. These weren't just, quick cash grabs. These were bestsellers that resonated with a lot of people.
More than money and your money or your life. They seem to be about so much more than just, financial advice. What stood out to you?
I was struck by how he really delved into the deeper meaning of success. He explored the importance of finding your purpose, the challenges of balancing ambition with personal well-being, the often overlooked costs of chasing material wealth. It felt like he was, really grappling with some big questions.
Yeah, and it's especially powerful coming from someone who had achieved so much success in the financial world. He wasn't speaking from, a place of envy or resentment. He was coming from a place of experience and reflection.
It's like he was saying, look, I've been there, I've done that, and it's not the be-all and end-all. There's more to life than just making money. He even talked about how he prioritized work over family at times and the regrets he had about that.
Wow, that's raw and honest. Did he offer any solutions, though? Like, how do we actually balance ambition with well-being?
He did. He really emphasized the importance of, defining success on your own terms, setting boundaries, prioritizing relationships and experiences over, material possessions. He even talked about how his health challenges forced him to reevaluate his own priorities and focus on what truly mattered.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. He faces a health crisis, and he uses it as an opportunity to reevaluate his priorities. He faces a conflict with his network. He uses it as an opportunity to step back and pursue a new path. It's like he's constantly learning and growing from these experiences.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a remarkable level of self-awareness and adaptability.
Yeah.
And it's inspiring to see someone in his position willing to be so open about his struggles and the lessons he's learned along the way.
It is. And that brings us to another interesting point. You highlighted how Cavuto was praised for his coverage of the dot-com bubble, back in the late 90s and early 2000s. He was one of the few voices at the time warning investors about the unsustainable nature of the market.
Can you imagine having the courage to go against the tide when everyone else is, caught up in the frenzy? He faced a lot of backlash for that. People accused him of being a pessimist. We're trying to spoil the party.
But when the bubble burst, as he predicted, his credibility skyrocketed.
Exactly. It solidified his reputation as someone who wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo, to speak truth to power, even when it was unpopular. And that kind of credibility, invaluable in journalism. It's about building trust with your audience, showing them that you're not just following the crowd, that you're willing to dig deeper and, call out BS when you see it.
Yeah. And that commitment to truth-seeking just seems to be this recurring theme throughout his whole career.
It does. Right. And makes you wonder, where did that come from? What shaped his worldview and instilled those values?
Well, one article you sent in mentioned that his father was a blue-collar worker, a union man, instilled in Cavuto a strong work ethic and a deep respect for the struggles of everyday people.
That's fascinating. So even though he became this high-profile financial news anchor, he never lost sight of where he came from.
Yeah.
Of the values that he was raised with.
It does seem like that upbringing had a profound impact on his whole approach to journalism. He wasn't just reporting on the markets, for the sake of it. He was connecting those stories to the lives of real people, showing how economic decisions made in these boardrooms and on Wall Street actually affected families across the country.
Yeah, it's like he saw himself as a voice for those who often felt overlooked or forgotten, a champion for the everyday American trying to make ends meet. And he had this gift for taking those complex financial concepts and explaining them in a way that, anyone could understand, making those issues relatable and relevant to people's lives.
And that's a powerful thing, because it's easy to get lost in the jargon, the statistics, those abstract ideas, and lose sight of the human cost of these economic decisions. Cavuto had this way of cutting through all of that and bringing those stories to life, reminding us that behind every number, there's a human being with hopes and dreams and struggles.
Yeah, it's amazing how he was able to bridge that gap, between Wall Street and Main Street. He could talk to CEOs and these top economists, but he never lost that common touch, that understanding of what really mattered to everyday people.
It's a rare quality, especially in a field that can often feel detached from the realities of most people's lives. But it's also what made him so effective. He could translate these complex financial concepts into stories that, resonated with viewers, made them feel like they were actually part of the conversation, not just passive observers.
Absolutely. And that's a testament to his skill as a communicator, right? He wasn't just delivering the information, he was telling stories, connecting with people on an emotional level, right? He understood that power of storytelling, of making these issues feel personal and relevant. And, it's something we see throughout his whole career, whether he's covering a financial crisis, interviewing a politician, writing a book. He always finds a way to bring those human stories to the forefront.
He does. So as we kind of reflect on Neil Cavuto's life and career, what do you think his lasting legacy will be?
That's a great question. He'll certainly be remembered for his impressive career, for his longevity at Fox News, for his insightful analysis and sharp interviews. But I think his true legacy, it goes beyond those accomplishments.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. What are you thinking?
I think it's about the courage he displayed, both in his personal life and his professional life. The courage to face those health challenges head on, the courage to speak truth to power, the courage to, walk away from a comfortable position to stay true to his principles.
That's a powerful point. He was a model of resilience, really, showing us all that it's possible to overcome these incredible obstacles and still make such a meaningful contribution to the world.
Exactly. And, it's not just about achieving great things. It's about how you actually handle the challenges along the way. It's about the integrity you display, the empathy you extend to others, the willingness to learn and grow from your experiences.
That's a great point. And I think that's a message we can all take away from Cavuto's story. It's a reminder that, life is going to throw us all curveballs. We're all going to face adversity at some point. But it's really how we respond to those challenges that truly defines us.
Beautifully said. It's about finding that inner strength, that resilience to just, keep going, even when it's tough. And it's about using those experiences, both the good and the bad, to become, better, more compassionate, more understanding human beings.
I like that. So, to wrap up our deep dive into Neil Cavuto's life and career, let's all take a moment to appreciate the impact he made, the lives he touched, and the inspiration he provided.
He showed us all what it means to be a true journalist, a courageous advocate for the truth, and a resilient human being who never gave up, even when facing incredible odds.
And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking out those stories that inspire us to be better versions of ourselves. Until next time, keep diving deep.